The NBA just had their All-Star weekend, and if you watched any of the weekend, you would have noticed the NBA has a massive problem right now. Their players just don't want to play in the All-Star game and don't take it seriously, continuing to put out an unwatchable product for fans and TV networks. But that wasn't the only drama they dealt with. The league received some massive heat from Chris Brown and his fans. The first event of All-Star weekend is always the Celebrity All-Star game. This event included Jennifer Hudson, Puka Nacua, Micah Parsons, Meta World Peace, Kai Cenat, and other celebrities playing a game of pickup. And the one celebrity that everyone basically universally believes should be in the Celebrity All-Star game is Chris Brown.
He's not a regular human, bro. He got backflips and all kind of like.
I've never seen someone that just had talent in every bucket.
Just dancing and singing along is just
dancing
talent.
and singing along. Then he can act. Then he can hoop.
Oh no, he don't get to do stuff with regular people. He got to play with y'all. Yeah, he got all the stuff. He got to play with y'all.
I think if Chris played in a celebrity game, he would for sure get MVP, and I think he'll give for sure about good 20-something.
Nah, he gonna drop 50 just to say he did.
He can drop 50, do the anthem, do the halftime show, everything.
Draw the jersey.
Draw the jersey.
But he would not participate this year. And the craziest part, he almost did. Chris Brown would post on his Instagram story that he was invited to the game this year. Brown had the receipts where he actually said the NBA asked him to participate in the celebrity game, even informing him on what team he would be on and how everything would work. He accepts the invite. But then this is where things get a little hairy. The NBA would later call Chris to uninvite him because of their sponsors, quote unquote. And after he was disinvited, the NBA tried to save face, it looks like, by inviting him to come to the game and sit in the front row. Which is obviously pretty disrespectful, saying, oh, we don't want you in our game, but we want you to come and use your celebrity so we can get more clout off of you. And naturally, this really upset Chris Brown, as this is not the first time the NBA and other entities have asked Chris to participate in things and due to his past, uninvite him. We all know Chris Brown has a lengthy history of abuse and accusations. In 2009, when Chris Brown and Rihanna were dating, the couple would get into an argument that led to Chris Brown physically abusing Rihanna. Chris would receive 5 years probation, 6 months of community service, and 1 year of mandatory domestic violence cases. Chris would complete his punishment and has made amends with the Rihanna. But unfortunately for Chris, he would continue to have legal problems with abuse. Brown feels the reason why this happened with the NBA is because of his past, even though the majority of them would be unproven accusations. And after Chris Brown put this on his Instagram story and just lit up the NBA and Ruffles, it would go viral on social media because obviously it would. And the sponsor of the Celebrity All-Star game, Ruffles, would have to respond on Instagram by saying Ruffles sponsored last night's NBA All-Star Celebrity game. However, Ruffles did not have any involvement in nor visibility to any player decisions or celebrity invite discussions. Then naturally, Chris Brown would come out and just rip Ruffles, basically saying it was false and the company is now trying to save face, and calling out the NBA for being cowards. If Ruffles is claiming that they had nothing to do with the decision, so obviously that decision to not let him play or uninvite him was on the NBA. And this is where things get a little more dicey, because Chris Brown fans have questioned the NBA on all this, because they believe if the NBA is the one not allowing Chris Brown because of his past issues and accusations, they should be using the same exact approach with their current own players. Fans have brought up all the previous players in the NBA who dealt with domestic abuse and other legal problems, and they're still allowed to play in the NBA. The issue has been a problem for the NBA as there have been multiple players accused of this horrendous act of domestic abuse. And Charles Barkley would even ask Adam Silver about it on national TV about the problems the NBA is having and how they plan on fixing it.
I got one more question. I don't care. He says go to commercial, but I got a serious question for you. There's a couple of disturbing incidents of domestic violence in the NBA right now. What are we doing to address that? Because that is you can't put your hands on women, man.
We put in place a new program for how we deal with accusations of domestic violence even before they're prosecuted. Part of it goes to training of our players, counseling of our players to make sure they understand during high stress situations that obviously never resort to violence against anyone. And so we're addressing it. We have, state-of-the-art counseling professionals dealing with our players. But of course, and if a guy does cross the line, the consequences are enormous.
And the main abuser loser everyone's talking about is Miles Bridges. Bridges plays for the Hornets, obviously, and last summer he was charged and pled guilty to assault against the mother of his kids. While he received probation and a suspension from the NBA, he is still allowed to participate in games now. Another player is Jackson Hayes, who was charged with 2 counts of domestic battery and was sentenced to 3 years of probation. Despite this incident and still being in a civil lawsuit with the victim, the Lakers have signed Jackson Hayes to a contract a year later. In 2016, Sacramento Kings point guard Darren Collison pled guilty to a misdemeanor count of domestic violence against his wife. He only received an 8-game suspension, but he was able to return and still play. And I'm not here to tell you that what Chris Brown did or didn't do is good or bad. It's just the problem is there's always this gray area with the NFL, NBA, and all these sports leagues where they want to take the high ground and they're not consistent because one person might be making them money, or the person, like Chris Brown in his case, comes up and the Ruffle says, oh, I don't want to do it because he's going to be there. So they listen to him. And the NBA no doubt has been dealing with this for many, many years with different players. They've continued to improve as they address the situation, but many fans believe they could be doing a better job at it, holding these players accountable. Chris Brown would insist he's not calling out these companies for clout. Rather, he is tired of company trying to use him and lying to the public. The NBA has not stated whether Brown was invited or disinvited and has not made a public comment.